Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Outkick MMA episode 384. I am Brendan. UFC Fight Night, Blanchfield versus Fior. This is the prelims, all right? This is going to be the Nate Landwehr, Jamall Emmers fight breakdown, plus all of the fights on the prelims. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to the channel. That way you know the next video is coming out. I'd appreciate it. No more talky. Let's get into the fight, shall we? Man, classic Nate Landwehr fight, right? It's every freaking time. Every freaking time with him. He takes a beating. I was trying to think like today. So I know, okay, for those of you guys who watch these videos regularly, I know this one's late. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. I know this one's late. It was Easter yesterday. I didn't get around to it. All right. Anyway, I was driving around today and I was trying to think of a good example of who Nate Landwehr fights like. Maybe not necessarily the style, but like when you know like Nate Landwehr is fighting, you're like, who is that going to be like? And I was thinking maybe like a Diego Sanchez, where you know it's going to be a brawl and he's going to take take some punishment, but that doesn't really sit right. And then I was thinking maybe Darren Elkins, but you know he doesn't wrestle as much as him, like he kind of does, but it's along those lines, right? And like when you see Nate Landwehr on a card, you're like, okay. He might get knocked out in the first like 5 seconds. Like, sure, that could happen. Or he could take a beating, come back. I mean, what has he got? 1, 2? Oh, he does have 3 losses in the UFC. Oh, yeah, that Dan Ige, that was a step up in competition. Jamall Emmers looked great, right? Emmers starts early with the right hand to the body and the hard jab, and then the right hand over the top, landing hard all the time. Nate's shelling up quite a bit, trying to wear the damage on his arms. Landwehr able to pressure as the round wears on and landing his own shots. And you can look before this fight ended, right? This Emmers was still up 39-37. But if you had taken a strike count in the first 30 seconds, the first 2 minutes of this fight, Emmers was probably out way in front, probably 30-10, something crazy. And then Landwehr with the tight right hand staggers Emmers, and now Emmers wants to clinch, and now he's backing up. Still throwing out that nice jab, but just not able to keep the pressure off of him. Emmers landed some really nice shots this round, but Landwehr keeps walking him down, and as I'm writing that, it's an uppercut from Landwehr, and Emmers is on skates, and then the follow-up, and Emmers is out. You know, the way that Landwehr fights, it usually, like I say this a lot, and I use this phrase a lot, so forgive me if you hear it all the time, but it's not a recipe for long-term success, right? Taking damage, taking one to give one, taking two to give one. It can work, especially as it can work, especially against lower tier opposition. But as we saw with Dan Ige, a guy who can manage distance, a guy who can spread out his damage throughout the entire fight a little bit smarter. It's going to be hard to fight the guys at the upper echelon. Unless the division just turns into a bunch of Nate Landwehrs, right? A bunch of brawlers, a bunch of guys with chins who just want to get in there, slang and bang, you know? Like very heavyweight-esque. So unless that happens, I don't see him with his current skill set climbing the ranks, consistently beating ranked opponents. I see him turning away non-ranked opponents and guys with holes in their game, guys who come in there used to being the hammer but not being the nail. I know that's an overused example, but it was an interesting time to say the least. Watching his fight, and I'm down every single time I see him fight. I'm down. I think it's going to be fun. I think he's a good guy to keep in the UFC. He's an entertaining fighter, and going forward, I'll make sure that I tune in when I see he's on a card. That's what it is. He's fun to watch, man. Loopy Godinez taking on Virna Jandiroba. This one had some implications. Let's see here. Before we get into this, this was number 5 versus 10. Okay. Loopy with the tight guard and staying in the pocket, avoiding the hooks and landing the straights down the middle. Doing a good job with her tight boxing. Jandiroba goes for the takedown, can't get it in the clinch, trying to roll leg attack, but takes damage and can't get control. Jandiroba takes the back and doesn't really do damage to the end of the round. Really missed the opportunity, and Godinez did more damage in this round. Now, if you look at the striking numbers, they're pretty damn close, 13-12. I did feel like the shots from Godinez did more damage, even though that, Jandiroba did have more control time, 1 minute and 47 seconds. She didn't do a lot with it, right? Not a lot of damage. Had she laid out some punches near the end of that round, she does this a lot. You notice it in a lot of her fights. She emphasizes the submissions over even the position, but emphasizes the submission over the damage. And we see people like that losing decisions because they're not laying out the damage. They're not doing sustained damage over the long term of the they're not doing the damage over the long run. God dang it. Why am I? It doesn't matter. They're just not. She just has a habit of not doing that. So I had the first round for Godinez. Godinez gets in a leg entanglement in the second round, put Jandiroba in double trouble. It's where her legs are crossed over each other, and she's pulling on this top leg, and it's creating a lot of it puts a lot of pressure on the ankles and a little bit on the knee, depending on where you twist and how it goes. And she goes for a straight ankle lock. They end up getting out of it. It's hard to know who won this round, but I'm still leaning towards Godinez being the person attacking on the ground with the hammer. Oh, yeah, and they were throwing hammer fists at each other. She outstruck her in here, 9-5. If you look at the ground control time, I don't think this is right. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't think there was that much control time for Jandiroba. I think it's a misunderstanding of the position. Like when they're both in that leg entanglement and one person's over on top of the other one, I wouldn't consider that real control time. I would consider the person who's in danger not to be in control, right? Would you consider them when they're in a triangle situation? Would you think that person, just because they're on top, they're in control? I wouldn't think so. It's a 50-50 position. I'll give you that. I would say there's, when they're both on their butts and they're both attacking. But Godinez was attacking more. Jandiroba was on the defense, and if you do have a little bit of knowledge about jiu-jitsu, you can kind of see what's happening there. Plus, again, Jandiroba just did not land enough punches. Like it said, she landed 38 total strikes. I thought Godinez landed more. I thought she did more damage. If you want to give Jandiroba this round, okay. I just didn't. I gave that to Godinez. All three rounds were relatively close, and it's kind of pick your poison. Like, what do you like? Jandiroba tries to pull guard standing, but is held up against the fence, so that's no good. Jandiroba lands those crappy jabs, and the commentary is all about it, but Godinez lands with some pop when she's landing. Jandiroba gets the back and rides it out for the rest of the round. I gave her this last round. Now, she did get outstruck 16-13, but she did strike this round. When she was on the back, she did a little bit, but she was in a very dominant position for 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Okay, so on the back is different. That's attacking. It's virtually no defense, right? You're not playing defense. You are 100% offense. So I had it 29-28 in favor of Godinez, but the judges could have had it all over the place. They scored it. Eric Caolan. Yeah, this is totally understandable, by the way. Like all of these rounds, it's not the way that I had it. The first round, Eric Caolan gave the first and last round to Jandiroba and the second round to Godinez. Mamuna Querido gave had the exact same card, and then Chris Lee had all 3 rounds for Jandiroba. Again, I understand why this was. Like, Godinez did not put a lot of damage out there either. What I was looking for was purely the damage from the striking, and then the control time was the differentiator. I thought Godinez had done more damage in those positions. If you thought Jandiroba did more damage, then so be it. There is some subjectivity that falls in here, and I can't argue with that. I still think that Godinez did more. Julio Arce versus Herbert Burns. Boy, Burns got a whole lot of quit in him. Not compared. Okay. I'm not criticizing him. Oh, by the way, Julio Arce missed weight by 1 pound, so cheater's still going to cheat. Cheater's still going to win. I know you can say whatever you want. It's still sanctioned cheating. It is what it is. And I'm not criticizing Herbert Burns saying, like, man, I could do better than you. Absolutely. Fuck no. Of course I couldn't. Get my ass kicked by everybody, including the women in the UFC. All of them could beat my ass. That's not where I'm coming from when I'm doing, I'm criticizing him versus his peers. Right? You see it a lot with these fighters who are very much front runners, but when they have to come from behind, you see it in any other sport too, right? If you pay attention to basketball, football, I don't pay attention to baseball so much, but you see teams that are really good with the lead, right? When they get a lead, they're able to keep it, they're able to sustain it, and they're up by 10, up by 20, and they can just kind of keep it rolling. But if they get behind at any point by any significant margin, they just can't make a comeback. You see a lot of they're front runners, right? Just like a horse. That's where that phrase comes from. They're front runners. They're not good coming from behind. Gross. Not a ton out there the first half of the round. Burns is trying, and Burns is one of those guys. He's a front runner, not good coming from behind, not good through adversity. Burns is trying to pressure forward, but not able to get the takedown, taking strikes to the body. Burns with the knee to the nuts in the clinch, and the fight paused again for another knee to the nuts. Arce gets a point taken away. Arce did land the better shots in this round, more damage. But the point deduction means that it's going to be a 9-9. Yep. Arce landing the right hand, staggering Burns in the clinch. In the clinch separation, landing a nice knee, and Burns goes to the ground, and Arce landing a barrage, and it's all over. And like I said, the weight misser wins again. First round was relatively close in the striking. I thought that Arce did more damage. Looking at the scorecard here, Arce had a 10-8. Oh, Burns. Burns kneed him in the nuts. I had a 10-8, not 9-9. I wrote it down right. Again, for those of you guys who see me do this before, like I'll write something down the right way and then question myself like a freaking moron. Saul D'Amato gave that first round to Burns. All right. It's arguable. Okay, I'm not going to rag on him for that one. Just a lot of dirty fights. Like so many fouls, man. Dennis Buzukja versus Connor Matthews. Oh, performance of the night bonus, huh? They exchanged kicks to the legs and the body to start there. A lot of kicking, a lot of at range. Matthews with the pressure staying just out of range or blocking most of the stuff coming in. Matthews looked real good early on. Very slick. He looked like he had better positioning, but Buzukja started extending his combinations, finding the mark, and then Matthews was starting to stay too far. He was out of range, falling behind with like 90 seconds left. Matthews landed a low blow. Again, dirtier fight. Buzukja is just landing whatever he wants down the stretch, 10-9. He outlanded him 38-24, clearly his round. Second round, Matthews isn't deterred and keeps pressuring, but Buzukja is just popping him with the lead. The lead hooks. Straight lefts, low kicks, landing more, backing up. Matthews is waiting too much, taking big shots, not firing back nearly enough. Matthews gets it back standing up, but that was the only point in this round where it felt like he had anything. Buzukja just looks like he's slowing down just a little bit near the end of the round, but he's way out in front, in my opinion. These striking numbers don't look correct to me, 37-36 in favor of Buzukja. Even if they are correct, the heavier shots definitely came from Buzukja, so I clearly gave him this round. Then the last round here, left hook drops Matthews down, and then Buzukja gets a TKO finish. Looking at the scorecards, yeah, all three judges, Eric Colon, Saul D'Amato, and Chris Lee saw it exactly how I did with the first two rounds going to Buzukja. He looks good. He does have some cardio issues that he's going to need to work on because if you get tired in a 3-round fight, it does not bode well for 5 rounds. It means you're either going to have to adjust your fight style or build up cardio. Okay, Ibo Aslan versus Anton Turkalj. This one was, I think this is the Pleasure Man, right? Yeah. The Last Ottoman versus the Pleasure Man. Okay, Turkalj has a habit of leading with his head, and even when he does land, he's there to be countered. It's fun to watch. Aslan landing the jab, wanting that big right hand. Turkalj kind of sloppy with his entries, but he is landing more, especially in the blitz. Turkalj landing more damage in this round, but any one of those shots could knock him out at any point. Right, so he outlanded him here 21-17. I had him up 10-9. Second round, standing in the middle, and they're just trading. Turkalj eating some hard hooks with Aslan looking gassed and his left eye swelling shut. Turkalj lands a low blow when trying to land the knee up top. Again, more fouls. Aslan takes 2 minutes to get his breath back. Clearly took advantage of the situation. I don't blame him. He comes back, and Aslan finding the mark with wild hooks, and Turkalj landing up the middle with some uppercuts. Aslan really tired and outlanding Turkalj quite a bit this round. 44-23 in favor of Aslan. I had it 19-19 going to third. So Turkalj landing hard and Aslan getting sloppier, still with power. Huge right hand landing for Aslan, and it's instantly waved off. Really stupid. What ref was this? Copeland? Yeah, Copeland. Dude, he was so trigger-happy with the stoppages. There was trigger-happy stoppages and then not stopping at all, which we'll get to when we talk about the very first fight. Dude, I said this in my last video. Just because a guy's getting hit hard doesn't mean we stop the fight. If he's returning, if he's actively defending himself, whether you like it or not, he's still in it. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Are we fighting? Are we fighting? Is that what this is? Is this fighting? Because if it is, let them fight. Let them fight. Seriously, let him fight. What are you stopping it for? Are you worried he's going to get hurt? Why not stop at the last 30 shots he just fucking took? Of course he's going to get hurt. It's an MMA fight. That's the whole point, is to hurt your opponent. They're not having a hugging contest. They're not putting a ball through a basket. They're not hitting fucking home runs out here. They're hitting each other in the face. They're hitting each other in the legs. Just because he's taking damage doesn't mean we stop the fight. This one wasn't as egregious, right? This wasn't as egregious because he was taking damage, but this whole thing where, he's not looking great. So what? So what? You gonna stop? Here's a great example of this. If you're stuck in a submission and you're just sitting there, and you're clearly, you got the thumbs up and going on, why don't they stop it? You're stuck in there. You're not going anywhere. You're not intelligently defending yourself from the submission. You're just sitting there. Why don't they stop it? It's close enough, right? It's close enough to be making you not want to fight anymore. It's close. You don't stop it when the submission is close. You stop it when they submit or they pass out or something breaks. Okay, you don't stop it because it's close. It's the same thing when it comes to striking. It's so stupid, and I'm sick of seeing this shit. Like, let them fight it out. All right. Rant complete. It happened more than once, and Copeland was the... Ugh. All right. Jacob Malkoun taking on Andre Petroski. Obviously, Malkoun coming off of that DQ from last time. It's his fault. He's throwing targeted shots at the back of the head. He had plenty of opportunities. All you got to do is all you got to do is put some angle on your fist and throw some hooks. He would have had the finish in the last fight. Malkoun landing a hard jab, forcing Petroski to reset. Malkoun is one pressuring and doing a great job landing straight shots. Petroski finally landing a hard left and dropping Malkoun for a second. Petroski gets a takedown near the end of the round, but just nothing doing with it, and Malkoun landing more and doing more in this round. He only landed 15-10. It wasn't a ton of striking, but he did more damage for sure. Petroski went for a takedown in the second round, falls to all fours. It was really weird. I think he rocked himself on the hip, so his head hit Malkoun's hip, and he went out. That's what caused it. Everything that happened afterwards is ridiculous. It was basically a self-knockout, if anything else. Nothing else that happened afterwards matters. Keelan Loughran versus Angel Pacheco. All right. This fight was a banger. Loughran standing firm, taking shots, and landing the hard right back at him. Pacheco is active but can't advance with his shots, and his big shots are coming from Loughran's right hand. Loughran doesn't use a ton of head movement, but it doesn't matter. When he lands that right hand, Pacheco ends up backing up. If Pacheco can avoid just a few of those right hands in the second round, he could win it. But as far as this round goes, it was 10-9 to Loughran. And here's the thing. The reason I said he could have taken this round if he avoided some of those is because he outstruck him 46-35. Pacheco could easily have won this first round if he had avoided some of those bigger shots. I know that's easier said than done. So going into the second round, I saw this fight it could have been a lot closer than it was. Right, so I had it 10-9 to Loughran. Second round, Pacheco's doing a good job with the stiff jab, busting up the nose of Loughran. So Loughran decides to get the takedown. They get back up. Apparently, the ref doesn't want to stop the fight for 50 unanswered strikes. If you look at the ground strikes here, sorry, my bad. 34 of 50. He landed 34 unanswered strikes being on his back. And again, Vitor Ribeiro, I criticized him in my last video. This ding-a-ling just sat there. Like, I don't even think he warned him. Unless he's the most soft-spoken motherfucker on the planet, I'm pretty sure he just sat there and just watched. Oh no, he's still breathing, so keep hitting. So keep hitting. What the fuck? So, and I'm not I'm not one of those people who is a huge fan of pity-patty shots being the end of a fight. Like, none of those strikes are fight ending. Therefore, should have had ended, blah, 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 blah. I'm not the biggest fan of that. But given the precedent that has been set, I don't know, over the past 15 years, if you're not intelligently defending yourself for 10, 20 unanswered strikes, regardless of how hard those strikes are, if you're just shelled up on the ground, that's the end of the fight. So the fight should have been ended in this round. I gave it a 10-8. I didn't think this round was close, 20-17. If you gave this anything other than a 10-8, I don't understand you. Makes no sense. Anything that Pacheco landed on the feet was total bullshit. Did not outdo all the damage he took and basically being on the fight should have been over. That's how close it was to being ended. The fight should have been over. Last round, Loughran not afraid to throw with long combos. Pacheco can't put pressure on that left leg. Pacheco can't move right, and he's just taking left hooks to the body, right straights up top. The ref doesn't seem to care, doesn't want to stop it. The fight was supposed to go. That fight looked like it was supposed to go the other way, and somebody had Muddy sitting on Pacheco that was in the ref's pocket, which is what I said, but because it was the first fight of the night before I watched him like through the rest of the card. He's just, I don't know if maybe he's mute, maybe he doesn't speak. Seems like it would be a necessity as a referee. Outstruck him 54-25. Looking at the scorecards here. Only one judge gave it a 10-8, and that was David Torelli. Eric Caolan and Adrian Castro clearly looking for that man to die in there. Whatever. No, this is another one of those where it looks weird. It looked like the UFC or somebody with money or whatever was making it. They thought Pacheco was going to go in there. They thought Loughran was probably not the guy he was supposed to be, and Pacheco was the next one up, right? So they put him in this position to get this win. Kind of got mollywopped. So, I'm not gonna go into conspiracies. That's not what this is for. I really don't give a crap about that stuff. I just think that when I watch that shit, I get extremely frustrated watching somebody just take a beating for no reason. And like I said, none of those were fight-ending shots. It was just one of those things where, like, I've seen this before. This should have ended 10 punches ago. Why are we still doing this? What fight does he think he's watching? And, seeing him be a mute for the rest of the card kind of let me know, like, oh, no, he just doesn't fucking care. Like, he's not in there. This is how he refs. He just lets things go on, and if he dies, he dies. Whatever. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you guys for stopping by. I know this was a day late. I am very sorry about that. Subscribe to the channel if you like this stuff. That way the next video is coming out. I appreciate you all for stopping by yet again. Love you guys. Have an amazing week.